Hello, this is Adam Bernhold, and for my presentation, I'm going to be talking about the photography of Dorothy Lang and the Dust Bowl migration. So beginning in 1934, states in the Great Plains were hit with severe drought, causing soil erosion and creating a series of massive dust storms. Combined with the financial crisis of the Great Depression, the Dust Bowl uprooted thousands of small farmers, many of whom headed west in search of a better life. Dorothy Lang and Paul Taylor, a social scientist from UC Berkeley, were hired by the state of California to document the plight of these Dust Bowl refugees. The photographs Lang took soon caught the attention of the federal government, which was forming a new agency, the Farm Security Administration, or the FSA. The FSA was one of President Roosevelt's New Deal programs designed to provide relief to migrant refugees. Lang worked on and off for the FSA for the next several years, producing some of her best-known work. So this photo is of an abandoned farm in Texas. As you can see, the crops here are withered and buried under dirt and dust. Here's another look at a Texas farm. The fields in the photo are dry and cracked from the drought, and shows why the fields had to be left behind. Paul Taylor, Lang's partner and later husband, was an expert in farm labor. He helped redirect Lang's focus from urban poverty to the plight of American refugees. Entire families were escaping drought and dust storms in the Midwest looking for work in California. The couple began a series of road trips to record the crisis. Working first for the state of California and later the federal government, Lang photographed migrant families jammed into old cars or traveling on foot. She captured the harsh realities of life on the road and shattered the notion that Okies, a derogatory term for the refugees, were lazy and dangerous. Her work helped create national sympathy for migrants. Um, so the Okies, as I said, was a derogatory term for the refugees, coming from the fact that most of them came from Oklahoma, and a lot of people did not like them, as I said before, again, thinking that they were lazy and dangerous. So this photograph is of a family fleeing the Dust Bowl by car. They have everything that they can carry strapped to the back of the car, um, knowing that they won't be able to come back. Here are two gentlemen walking along the road next to a sign that says, take the train. Um, but due to the poor crop season and again, the financial impact of the Great Depression, many people were not able to afford trains or cars. And then here's another photograph of a family who had to walk along the road. As Dust Bowl refugees headed west across America, the lack of safe, clean camps to house migrant families became a national emergency. Lang's photographs of people camped by the road or looking for work awoke public awareness and became powerful arguments for government assistance. Although the events she recorded were national in scale, it is the personal and human details that make Lang's photographs so powerful. Under difficult conditions, she worked to connect on a personal level with the people she photographed. The resulting images stand as collaborations between artist and subject. Lang was quoted saying, I began to talk to the people I photographed. In the migrant camps, there were always talkers. It gave us a chance to meet on common ground, something a photographer like myself must find if she's going to do good work. So these next few photos are of families in camps, and as you'll see, the conditions and the size of these camps are just very poor. And in this photograph, all the way on the right, you can see Paul Taylor interviewing one of the people that lives there. Um, Now, this photo um, is of a burning settlement. Um, And due to it being so isolated from civilization, there was no way to contact police or fire uh, safety. And so the house just had to burn. Um, and it just shows again how poor the conditions were. During the Depression, the rich farmlands of California beckoned thousands of displaced farmers fleeing drought and dust storms on the Great Plains. In contrast to the small family farms they knew at home, California architecture was dominated by factories in the fields, huge corporate farms which required temporary seasonal labor to plant and harvest crops. Powerful and well-organized growers controlled the system and ruthlessly exploited workers. Lang characteristically approached the subject of migrant labor by making intimate, penetrating images of the workers themselves. She took the time to make personal connections with the people she photographed under difficult and sometimes dangerous conditions. The resulting images can be considered collaborations between artist and subject. Lang was quoted saying, "I had to get my camera to register the things about these people that were more important than how poor they were, their pride, their strength, their spirit." So these next few photographs are of young workers in fields, um, and they would spend many hours there without uh, very much compensation for their work. Um, this photograph is of cotton plant, and another quote from Lang, cotton is a crop that will always bring evil with it. The rawest, crudest exploitation, brutalizing anyone and everyone involved in it. Um, so workers were treated very, very poorly in these commercial fields, and cotton fields worst of all. In 1939, Lang and Taylor released a book that made use of the Farm Security Administration photo archive, and the book was called An American Exodus, A Record of Human Erosion, and it was innovative in several ways. Rather than tell the story from their own perspective, Lang and Taylor used direct quotes from the migrants themselves, which Lang had painstakingly collected in the field. Released as war tensions were building in Europe and Asia, an American exodus was largely overlooked at the time. In the years since its publication, the book has gained power, presenting an iconic image of the Dust Bowl era that has shaped the way we think of those difficult years. It's now hailed as the definitive look at the time period and a masterpiece in the documentary genre. Lang's most famous work, however, remains her photograph of Florence Thompson and her children entitled Migrant Mother, which is this photo. It almost didn't happen, and its lasting impact was something of a mystery to Lang. Out of the thousands of images she had made, why does this one have such a universal appeal? Considering its impact, it's ironic that Migrant Mother is not typical of Lang's usual practice. Exhausted after a long trip, she didn't interact much with this migrant woman, Florence Thompson, and didn't record her story accurately. Although Thompson became a famous symbol of white motherhood, her heritage was Native American. The photograph moved many Americans to support relief efforts, but it distressed Thompson and her children and raised ethical concerns about the way photography can turn individuals into symbols. And so the original idea I had for this project, as you'll see here, is an homage to Lang's work and the idea of history that we've discussed in class not being a singular event or date, but rather a person's stories that make up what happened to them, which Lang also believed. But I put it at the end because I think it just works better that way. So in this mosaic that I created, all the images that I have shown beforehand make up the image of Migrant Mother. So yeah, that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you for listening, and I hope you learned something.